Sam.
What's up, D? It's
How
good
you
to
doing,
see you.
man?
I'm wonderful.
So, when we were doing the programming for this, the first thing I said, we need to set the day off right with an understanding of what is the current landscape of what's going on with DEI. But before we get there, though, I want to say I'm proud of you, bro.
Thank you.
As Janae mentioned, we work together at Nike, and I can tell you, you helped us reconnect to Nike in a new way that we hadn't before, and you led that charge. But what I'm most proud of, though, is you said, hey, there's a deeper purpose and a deeper meaning and a deeper passion that burns within you. You decide to step away and create your own pathway, create your own opportunity, because there was more work to be done. And some of you, when you work in major corporations, there's nothing wrong with that. And some of you may be thinking about making transitions into other opportunities. Don't be afraid of those opportunities. Now, I'm not saying quit your job, by the way. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with that. But it takes a lot of courage to do that, because I did that myself many years ago. And sometimes people look at you like, why are you giving up all that money? Why are you giving up that job? Like, because it's not always about money. It's about people. Yeah. And I just want to say I'm proud of you for taking that step out on faith and really following your true passion and your true path.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of the work, thank you. The work and decision to start Rainbow Disruption was in a lot of ways inspired by the work that I've seen you do over the last 5 years when I was at Nike D. And, so folks, the last time we were actually on stage together was actually at Tribeca Film Festival about 2.5, 3 years ago. And you were talking about what this would be, not only the forum, but PLC writ large. And I remember the inspiration that hundreds of people out there felt about that experience. We didn't talk about it then, but I remember sitting on that stage recognizing, how do we realize when we've reached our peak with what we can do at an organization and institution? And I'll be clear with you. After 5 years, various different roles, leadership of teams of hundreds plus at Nike, I had reached my peak. It was time for me to go on and explore and do something different. And as Black professionals, it's realizing when that point is there so that you're not just existing, but rather actually making action.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. And a corporation like Nike, I was there for decades, and they've always been great to me when I was there, and they continue to be even greater in also helping us build PLC as well. And I can tell you, those conversations that we had, and both in person, over Zoom, over calls, and in between panel conversations we would have, there was just power there. And he was able to bring that power out, and now you're able to bring it on your own platform with Rainbow Disruption. The first question, I don't know if it's a question or a statement. Is it illegal to be Black now in corporate America? It feels like
it certainly seems that way.
It feels like people are trying to change some laws that was in place in the first place for us to create equality, right?
Yeah. I think that therein lies the challenge. Equality is a myth. I've said it, I've written about it. Equality is a sentiment that was created for us as underrepresented professionals to aspire to some true north that is impossible to reach or achieve.
Damn.
If the argument is true that equality is the distribution of resources so that we can all reach the same outcome, and yet we are doing no work to resolve structural barriers that inhibit certain communities from navigating it, equality is a myth. And so as we're watching some of the turnover, impact, or backlash that's happening, I'm actually not that surprised. What we must recognize, though, is what is happening. And it is a calculated divestment of work in progress that has been made to date.
Right.
For example, everybody has probably seen the headlines of Tractor Supply rolling back some of their commitments to DEI. And you probably say, well, we work in the footwear industry. Why should I care about this? Well, 2 weeks surrounding the same time of Tractor Supply making their decision, the USDA lost a $3.1 billion case to the Black farmers of America. having to distribute between $10,000 and $500,000 to black farmers. Do you not think that white farmers had some backlash about the fact that now this community has access to capital that never existed before and are now pushing back on retailers and other industrial leaders related to work that's being done to promote equality for these communities? It's all connected by a surrounding narrative that says, if you are advancing, I am somehow being negatively impacted because we forever made this a zero-sum game.
Right. That's crazy. I didn't even connect that dot. That's wild. It's also refreshing to not refreshing, enlightening to understand there's other industries that are being impacted much larger than, say, the ones that we're directly connected to.
Yeah.
What would you say is, how should we be approaching us being in corporations, working with corporations? I know for the conversations we're having with some of our amazing partners that we have and the amazing partners that actually put on BFF. You know, I forgot to mention that part. So real quick sidebar. We intentionally chose to make BFF free because we knew there was people who needed to hear the things that will be said on these stages and these breakouts. And we reached out to the industry, myself and Matt from FDRA, president of FDRA, were like, hey, industry, can you help us support the folks of the industry so we can actually put on some information for folks so they don't have to worry about the barrier of a financial contribution. So that is why BFF has been free for the last 5 years and continues because of some amazing sponsors that we have. So if it wasn't for them, y'all wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be here. So for those of us who are still in corporations and work at corporations, how should we navigate? Like what can we do as individual employees? Because I don't always look at it as we should be waiting for the company to help us. Like I think there's things that we can do to help inspire the organization in some cases. But what can we do so we're not waiting for Superman to save us?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Can everybody hear me? Start with educating yourself. You know, there's a lot of great literature that's out there right now, folks, that's super helpful. About a week ago, the Congressional Black Caucus released an amazing accountability report that looks across various different industries to understand what does impact to the black community actually look like. Read all 32 pages of that, folks, because what that helps you to do is tear down narratives and stories, and in some cases even fables or lies that are being told to you about where progress happens. For many of our organizations, we are often told that if we are not hiring, we cannot diversify our workforce or population. If we have no opportunities to promote talent, we can't diversify from the lens of representation. What the accountability report tells you, though, is great, but there are 11 other areas outside of representation where our organization can be making impact. For example, is your finance team, through the Treasury Department, actually investing money in minority-owned or black banks and businesses? These are the banks that give the majority of loans to black, small, and medium-owned businesses. As long as you're doing business or operating, there's big opportunity to make impact through the lens of equity there. Furthermore, in your procurement group, are they actually diversifying the suppliers that oftentimes take advantage of millions and in some cases even billions of dollars in supplier support from our institutions? Again, as long as we are doing business, there's an opportunity to move forward through the lens of equity. I say that to say I know a lot of folks in this room may be designers or product folks, but for those of you that work in corporate functions and organizations, don't somehow minimize your role. There's a big opportunity and impact that you can have in how we drive and define work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, but don't simply settle for an organization naming one new black board member as success. Because the reality is this, yeah, those folks are added to the board, and yes, hopefully, if they believe in the power of elevating black voices, they will do that in the rooms with which they occupy. And yet the separation between the lowest level black person in an organization and the black board member is so rich that quite frankly, you may never meet that person in your life. And so while that progress is necessary, understand and recognize the various other areas within our organization where we can truly drive and promote great and measurable progress. The second thing is this: do not fall for the okie doke when it comes to the quote zero-sum game. This perspective that black communities can only win if it comes in exchange of something else or another community. We saw this play out in 2021, everybody, where following George Floyd's murder, a ton of resources being put in place around racial equity. As soon as May 2021 hit and we saw the trending of hashtag Stop Asian Hate, companies started to purport a narrative to us that we had to trade off some of the great progress and work the Black community had made for a year in exchange for support in serving other communities. That is a fallacy.
Right.
We can both win through the lens of solidarity and impact as much as they can.
Yep.
Because there's a whole group of people that are occupying access to resourcing here. This is why you must be cautious and always challenge terms like DEI hire. Because quite frankly, if diversity is difference and only we represent diverse, that means that experiences of cisgender straight white men represent the standard. And let's be clear, we have always been the standard, elevated the standard, and raised the bar. Whether it's culture, product, or impact. In this industry, footwear, more than any other industry represented in the world.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Now y'all see why I like hanging out with this dude right here? Like, y'all thought I was like militant. He's like intelligent militant. I'm like direct militant. Like,
when you
I'm
show
learning.
up, it's because when you show up in environments looking like My Little Pony, like you kind of tone down. Like you tone down people's defense and then you just go for it.
I like that. I like that fake out. I like that. I like that. So dropped a lot of jewels. Hopefully y'all took some notes. Tell me about Rainbow Disruption, bro. Like what's going on there?
Yeah.
Because I know you got some stuff planned.
We're doing a lot of great work, y'all. You know, what I love the most about it is we are working across 12 different industries right now, about 22 different client sets, doing work with federal governments in the US, Canada, and Australia. Because one of the biggest things that I've come to recognize about this space, success is not driven by just one company. Success is not driven by competition. And success is not driven by individual action. It's collective action that makes change even better. So we're working with clients that are doing amazing work such that if any of us gets any type of blood cancer like leukemia, that there's an increased likelihood in us as Black folks finding a match. 2 years ago, the likelihood that you'd find a match, 23%. Based off research and work that this organization is doing, it's now 84% in just 2 years' time.
Okay.
We are doing work with financial services companies that say the way in which financial literacy has historically been taught to Black communities does not account for our narratives. We are told buzzwords like mentorship, sponsorship, which don't hold a lot of weight and meaning for us. But it's a new program that's often developed within our organizations that satiates us just for a little bit until we don't get the next promotion that we so rightly deserve. What we do at Rainbow Disruption is partner with a number of institutions, for-profit, nonprofit, Fortune 500, governmental entity, et cetera, to help make sure that we're embedding and integrating principles of DEI into everything that we do. Here's the reality of it. In my classrooms, I teach at MBA schools at Brown and Berkeley. And so in my classroom, I am a social scientist. That's what my background and experience is. In workplaces, though, I'm a business leader. I do not care about changing the heart and mind of anybody. I don't. Because how you have developed or conditioned yourself to understand why you feel a certain way on a topic, it is too much for me to help you unlearn those experiences. What my job is to set the stage and standard for mindsets and behaviors, meaning when you're inside the four walls of this here institution, this is how we behave, this is how we show up, and this is how we advance and elevate the voices of those that are the most marginalized amongst us. And so through training and development programs, listening sessions with groups, teams, and organizations, assessments and audits, psychometric analysis, and then different books that I've either written or that are in flight, that's how we build our work.
Damn. Do you sleep?
I run on about 4 hours. That's my happy spot.
People be asking me if I sleep.
Because we always text in the wee hours.
Feel like I'm not doing enough when I'm sitting next to you. Shit. No, that's amazing. I'm glad there's people like you. I'm glad there's organizations like Rainbow Disruption, because our industry and multiple industries need to understand our value and our contributions. But honestly, I think we need to understand our value and contributions. Because if we don't understand our value and contributions, why do you expect someone else to understand and respect your value and contributions? Because that's the real piece to the equation. As I mentioned, like, you can't wait for organizations. You can start your own mentorship programs. You can start your own groups. You can do all these things. That's called free. You can do all those things. If we don't take control of our destiny, it's going to be harder for us to take control of our destiny when we get help.
Yeah. I mean, it's this simple, y'all. A valueless person doesn't understand their opportunity.
Damn.
If you have never been
Wait, hold on. Did y'all hear that one? Say that one more time, because I don't know if they caught that one.
A valueless person doesn't understand your opportunity. If you've never set the stage for what your value is, and I'm not talking just about what your compensation expectations are.
Right.
Truly the value that you add to an organization, because a lot of times it's intangible. You know, a lot of folks like to quote some of the financial statistics. So the fact that the broad buying power for the black community in the US, for example, is $1.6 trillion.
Yep.
That's what we've quantified. It is arguably impossible to quantify the long-term cultural impact of our ideas, of the great perspectives that we bring to organizations and institutions. That far exceeds even the trillions of dollars that have been highlighted in terms of that buying power. Your value is more than just the dollar amount that is placed on it. And so it's critical that you recognize that and set the floor for that, because opportunity then becomes how we push that ceiling higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, 3 years ago, I did not see myself being an entrepreneur. I would have seen myself sitting on this stage with you talking about programs that we have built and we're working on at Nike. And I would have been just as happy with that, because I'm so proud, and I know we got some of my old team members in the audience today,
yes.
so it's good to see you.
They carried the torch well,
Absolutely.
bro. Yes.
And that's what it's about, y'all. It's about setting up infrastructure such that others around you can feel both inspired and empowered to carry forward the amazing work that you have set the stage for. It's not about you always being the face of the one driving the worker experience.
Right.
Galvanizing others and motivating them, that's the real win.
Poof. All right, we got 3 minutes left. You gave us a lot. What do you want to leave them with, though? As they go off for not only the rest of this weekend, but as they go back into their organizations and their companies and their environments, what would you want to leave them with so they feel empowered, valued, and just wanted to have some of that want to be better than what they showed up here with?
Yeah. I'll give you 2 things. First, we'll talk about the realities of the present, then we'll talk about what's possible for the future. Don't be misled by the headline. The headlines will have you believing that it is doom and gloom connected to the DEI work in space right now. Research from Pew Institute, Littler, and others find 60% of Americans actually support DEI work. 57% of workers and organizations actually believe that it's useful and helpful for the business. I don't give a damn about the 16% who don't hear or who are trying to dial it back, because their reason or rationale remains unmatched. I had a reporter ask me the other day about Robbie Starbuck. He is the man going around getting companies like Tractor Supply, Lowe's, and Ford to publicly dial back some of their commitments in the space. And I told her one thing simply. Kendrick Lamar beautifully said, "They're not like us," and I extended upon that. Me and Robbie are not the same. Don't you dare compare the opining of a former music video director about topics related to diversity, equity, and inclusion to those of us that have committed time, energy, work, practice, and pedagogy to understanding how to do this work and experience. We are not the same.
Right.
And so don't ever let people compare your experience where you know you have built expertise in a certain space or area to someone who's just a loudmouth.
Wow.
And so right now, a lot of the headlines want you to believe that it's doom and gloom and that folks are giving up on this work. That's just not true. Yes, we've seen a rollback and some impact in terms of financial investment in certain spaces, but it's because we have so often chosen to only think about this work as a program or an initiative. Push your organization to think about it truly through systems, through process, through practice and behaviors. That is where real accountability is built. And so what does that mean for the future? Every time I have the opportunity to connect in anything that you are doing here, Dean, and to be surrounded by Black footwear professionals, I'm inspired. Because I know that each of us, are going to be a part of the future and how we reset the stage and redefine what is possible for us. The work that went into building approaches to how we drove civil rights throughout the 1960s in this country and abroad are a test case for what is truly possible. We've always been tested in this way. The overturning of race-conscious admissions processes by the Supreme Court is not doom and gloom for us. California overturned it through referendum in 1996. We've seen how this has happened before. It is up to us to decide, what are we going to do with this? Hyperinvestment in HBCUs is one approach, for example. Yeah. Are organizations committing efforts to recruit specifically from HBCUs to drive greater talent pipeline development and diversification in that space? Those are efforts where we can say, this is the hand with which we have been dealt, and yet, I'm from the dirty South. I'm from Houston originally, and so I'm really good at playing spades. I'm like really good at playing spades.
Spades? Okay.
Come on now. And so sometimes the hand you dealt is not the best, but you depend on your partner to carry it through and forward. We all have to align and say through collective action, we are partners to the other.
Right.
And so when we feel attacked by the government, when we feel attacked by corporations, what are we going to do to support each other to drive impact along the way? But hear me loud and clear as I conclude with this. To do that, we have to tear down all of the differences that separate us. What I mean by that is if you are a straight black man in this audience, realize I, as a gay black man, am always in your corner and rooting for you. And
wow.
So cut it. Cut the judgment based on us existing in different intersectional identities. When I see black men online lambasting or bashing black women, I'm embarrassed for you. If we as a community figure out how to tear down the walls that separate us and realize the beauty and the things that connects us, we are a powerful force that will change the footwear industry and enable this industry to be a model for what is truly possible for others. Because at the end of the day, other companies look to ours to decide what the future can be.
Damn. Damn. Damn.
Appreciate you, Director.
Appreciate you. Thank you.